He's the new head coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats, Tommy Tuberville, who joins us on the program. Coach, how are you today?
Good morning, Dan. I've got my jeans on. Only you and I would know that little deal.
I mentioned this yesterday when I brought up the story that came out of Lubbock. And I said, look, I met you and your wife, and you seem like great people, nice people. Maybe it was an odd marriage there in Lubbock. But then I saw this story yesterday, and I didn't know what the excuse was going to be. If recruits come in and you take them to dinner, and then they're asking about your future, and then you leave, they think you're going to the bathroom, and you don't come back. So help me separate fact from fiction with this, Coach.
I kind of heard that, and, I don't throw anybody underneath the bus, but, I wasn't even involved in this job until the next day or any job. And what we do on Friday nights is we go to a steakhouse, and I stay with each player and go in and visit with them before the food comes out. And if there's any parents, I think we had 6 or 7 recruits there. And we sat down, we ate, and their hosts are there with them. And then, obviously, everybody's finished eating and getting ready to get up and move out. And I did the same thing. I mean, I don't understand the significance. I've done that everywhere I've been. And sooner or later, you got to get up and leave. You can't sit there at the dinner table all night long. But there's, obviously, I don't want to throw anybody underneath the bus. But that's exactly what happened. I wasn't even involved in any job.
But let's put the job aside, because I know that the statement is that you had no contact between you and Cincinnati on that Friday night, that you talked to them on Saturday and then took the job on Saturday. I'll get to that in a moment, but just you're sitting there with these recruits. Did you say goodbye to those recruits that night?
Well, I just walked around. I wasn't saying bye to them because they're going to be there for the next 2 days. The meals and the get-togethers at night are not about coaches. It's about the players and their host. And I deal more with the parents at the meals normally. And we only had one parent there. That's all about the host sitting down, eating with them, talking about the school, talking about the program. I mean, there wasn't anything to that. And again, I was there at the office the next morning. And then, of course, I got a call and we started talking. But there wasn't anything that night. I mean, it just basically, that's what I do every week. That's what I'll do here. We'll have recruits come here on this Friday night, and the host will come, and I'll go out and shake their hands. And once dinner's about over, the hosts take them out, and coaches go home. I mean, that happens at every college across the country.
Well, I'm just trying to understand why the recruits would say this, that if the conversation was they're asking you about your future at Texas Tech.
No, nobody asked me about that. Nobody knew anything. Heck, I didn't know anything. How could they ask something there was none whatsoever talk about that. None. It wasn't even on the table.
But they could ask you that just because they're ready to commit to Texas Tech. They want to know how long you're going to be there, not that you could be leaving the next day. I think it's probably a general question you get from recruits occasionally, though, don't you?
Yeah, but then they just got on campus. They got there at 5 o'clock, most of them flying in. We have a little reception for them, and then we take them to dinner to meet their host for the first time. The commitment stuff. Well, you want them to see campus. They had just arrived, and there was none whatsoever. Even talk about commitments or offering scholarships. You got to find out where they fit in first. You talk to your players, the host around it. That was the very beginning, very first 3 or 4 hours of the recruiting visit.
Well, the only reason why
that wasn't the end.
No, they were specific though. One of the recruits was that. Ask you about your future there, and you mentioned you'd coached Florida, Auburn, and recruited Ray Lewis, and then he said you excused yourself and then you didn't come back. That's according to one of the recruits.
No, they ask questions when you're standing there. Again, this was the very beginning of the recruiting process. It had nothing to do with any other school, and again, I'll handle it the same way and have handled it the same way for 20 years. This is about the players coming and knowing the players on your team, and they show them around, and they're all getting ready to go out and go around town and be hosted by their recruits. It had nothing to do with me or going to any other place. It was I don't know where any of that came from. I mean, that was just I'm sure that after the fact, most of these kids haven't been recruited before, and they might think that the head coach is supposed to hang around them for 48 straight hours, and that's not what happens. It's you're around the dinners, you're around the meals, you're around the entire next day on Saturday with all the all the things that happen in terms of tours and meeting academics. And that was the first 3 hours of their visit. So now there was, and I obviously addressed all of them about, hey, welcome, glad you're here, and ask questions, know what's going on, and spend time with your host, because those are the guys that are going to be the ones that you hang around most of the time when you come here. So now, that's where most people don't know a recruiting process, and so that's just a little bit how it goes when they show up to campus.
He's Tommy Tuberville, new Cincinnati head coach, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. You didn't have contact. I just want to get this straight as far as contact with Cincinnati. Did you take a call Friday night from Cincinnati?
No.
So
No.
Saturday morning is the first time you talked to Cincinnati.
Saturday morning, yes, sir. Saturday morning.
And then you took the job that night?
That night. That's how quick it. And I had no idea. I wasn't looking for a job. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it does. And so, heck, I don't think the coach knew he was leaving until I don't know what day it was. I think it was Friday morning or something. And they've got to get their ducks in a row and who they're looking at. I mean, and my first contact was Saturday morning.
Is Cincinnati a better job than Texas Tech?
They're all about the same. It's what you make out of it. They've obviously won 4 Big East championships here in the last few years, so they know how to win games. And after getting, I didn't know much about Cincinnati. I just knew the athletic director and watched film on them, or watched them on TV some. But it's what you make out of it. But I'm excited about being here. I mean, I love Texas Tech. It was a great place, and but you just got to figure out what fits you. And after I'd gotten there, the new athletic director come in, and he's a great guy in Kirby Holcutt. And as I told Kirby when we talked, it's probably best that he get a guy that he knows, that he's comfortable with. But we were comfortable. There wasn't any problem whatsoever. It's just sometimes you got to get a feeling of do you go or do you stay? And, that happens every year for a lot of places.
I know you talked to Tim Brando. You said that you're a hired gun, and this is what coaches do.
Yeah.
I have a problem with it because, look, you can take jobs. Coaches take jobs. We've seen that recently here. I just have a problem that there has to be a conscience here with these coaches because you guys are leaders. You may be a hired gun, but you're still a person. You're a father, you're a husband, and you're bringing in these kids. And I don't think any of these coaches have any remorse when they decide to pick up and leave and go take another job, even though they've got the assurance of a long-term contract.
Oh, yeah. It's.
Do you agree with that?
That's the toughest thing. It's all about the players, and that was, when I've left a couple of places, and the toughest thing is about the players. It's not about anybody other than the kids. Because they come there, but they don't come for a coach. They come to a university. I couldn't name a handful of guys over the years that I've coached that they came just because of Tommy Tuberville. They come for the university that you're recruiting them to. They come to get an education, and they come to play. Yeah, it's a tough situation when you step up, and as I did for about 15 minutes, I couldn't hardly talk to them about it's time for me to go, and they'll be fine. They've got a good coach coming in, but it's a tough situation. It's like nothing you could think of in terms of how it tears you up. But again, as I told them, that's life. There's life. You're going to have ups and downs in life. You're going to have wins and losses, and you got to get over it. You got to adjust, and you got to make yourself better.
Yeah, I understand it, but it's not about the kids, and the kids do go for systems. If they go to play for Mike Leach at Texas Tech, they know what style offense he runs. If they go play at Oregon, they know what style offense Chip Kelly runs. So we can talk about school, but this is about these kids who all think they can play in the NFL. They all think they can play next level. They want to know what kind of style you have with Brian Kelly when he was at Cincinnati. You're going to play for a coach. That's the reason why you're going to that university. It's not the president who's recruiting you. It's the football coach. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And you're going in, and you're going into an environment that you hope is conducive to you getting better and doing all that. But again, vice versa, coaches get fired.
Yeah, but you get paid, though, Tommy.
Yeah. You what?
You get paid.
Sure you get paid. You get paid the whole time you're there.
Well, I know, but if you get fired, you still get paid. You guys can leave whenever you guys want to. That's the problem I have. Like, you had Mike Gundy with a contract through 2019, and he's welcoming the Tennessee committee to his place. You had Les Miles at LSU, a preliminary phone call with Arkansas. What the hell is going on here?
Well, I can't tell you. I can't tell you about
But how do you explain that? This is LSU's coach with a great job, and he's talking to Arkansas? He's got a contract.
Well,
it's wrong.
That's exactly right. Well, it's, Dan, same thing with any business. I mean, this is a business. I mean, you know that as well.
I do, but you have all these kids, though.
You're in the same business. You're in the same business.
I don't leave. I stayed 18 years at one place, Tommy, so I can't relate to you guys.
Well, I stayed 10 years at one place, 10 years at another. I mean, those things happen. I mean, you're not going to retire usually like some of the coaches have over the years. That's just not the system anymore. It doesn't happen that way.
But I want to see you guys stand for something. It's not just you. Brett Bielema takes the job at Arkansas. You have a contract. He's not even going to the Rose Bowl with these kids.
I can't speak for the rest of them. I really can't. You just gotta go on and do what you think's right for, the system. I mean, the whole deal is obviously there's problems, but no, the universities survive. No matter what happens. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I just want you guys to have the integrity that you tell kids don't quit, and believe in team and all of that, and then you guys can leave and there's no penalty. Kid wants transfer, he's got to sit out a year. In conference, 2 years he's got to sit out. It's wrong, and somebody's got to eventually say we're better than this. Am I wrong in any? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong on this, Tommy, on any of this.
Well, there's always situations, Dan, that people on the outside don't see. I mean, you got to understand that too. You got to understand the situation of all the coaches, all the players, and if you could probably sit down and look at Brett Bielema's situation or my situation or Mike Gundy's situation, there's always pluses and minuses about it. And, I had a great time at Texas Tech. We had some good kids. Our guys recruited hard. The kids played hard. I mean, there's nothing you can say. It's life. I mean, in every business, people change jobs every once in a while.
I understand.
And I know you're saying it's about the kids and all that, but it's no different when you're working with people. There's people that you work with. If there's CEOs that leave, there's sportscasters that leave. There's people that make decisions, based on not just them and their families, but about their job.
But you can leave. I have no problem, if you have that opportunity to better yourself. None. But if you have a long-term deal at LSU or Oklahoma State and you're openly flirting with another school, then I have a real problem with that. And you can talk about CEOs and you can talk about sportscasters. You have a direct impact on all of these kids and that university. And it's big income, big business. Yeah. So that's my problem with it. All right. I'll let I know you face the firing squad. I do appreciate you coming on. And I meant what I said about meeting you and your wife over the summer. I enjoyed talking to you and meeting you, and that's why I wanted to at least have the correct story on what happened.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you called, and it's good to talk it out. But it's again, there's no perfect scenario, and there's just situations. Sometimes you have to make a decision. That's what I did, and it wasn't about Texas Tech. It wasn't about Cincinnati. It wasn't about Auburn when I left there. It wasn't about Ole Miss. I mean, it's about what you feel like's best for everybody involved. And sometimes you have to make those decisions, and not just best for you, but best for the team that you just left. And so there's a lot of things there that people don't see.
I understand it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things there.
Hey, it's good to talk to you again.
All right, Dan.
Thank you, Tommy.
Okay. Thank you.
Tommy Tuberville.